Jesus Christ, Charles, just take the fight. Let's go. Because I want Charles Oliveira on that card.
Thought that he was ducking. He's not ducking. He's fighting Gamrot. I'm excited for this.
Ciryl Gane just revealed an intense fight prep ahead of UFC 321, giving fans a glimpse into his preparation for Tom Aspinall, while pros reacted to Ciryl Oliveira snubbing Mateusz Gamrot. Meanwhile, the analyst MMA Guru commented that Rafael Fiziev's pulling out of UFC Rio has revealed the lightweight division's decline. He noted that the division, once considered the strongest and most competitive in the UFC, now appears to be only a shadow of what it was a few years ago.
The lightweight division of the UFC a couple of years ago used to be the division of the BMFs, of the anytime, any place fighters. Don't care who it is, they'll step in on any notice and get it done. It used to be the division of the savages of the UFC. And the current lightweight division, just a couple of years later, that's how quickly it can change, is an absolute clown show compared to the lightweight division of old.
Additionally, Guru criticized Ciryl Oliveira and expressed strong disapproval of him ducking Gamrot, while adding that this trend has become far too common in the lightweight division.
Ciryl Oliveira is being accused of ducking. And as a huge Ciryl Oliveira fan, it pains me to tell you what I'm about to tell you. I can't defend this. He is. And it's pathetic. And I don't like it at all.
According to him, many fighters are choosing to sit out and wait for a championship opportunity instead of taking fights to earn their position.
Where we are seeing this more and more, people sat on their asses in their division, in the top 5 spot, and would rather wait for a champion to get to them 2 years later in his own schedule, rather than fighting someone and making sure it's them next.
On the other hand, Ciryl Oliveira explained that Mateusz Gamrot would be a good matchup stylistically, since Gamrot is a wrestler and grappler. But he also noted that the style is very different from what he has been preparing for in recent weeks. Oliveira stressed that fight decisions are about planning and understanding the right approach, and he mentioned that he's currently taking time to clear his head by going horse riding and reflecting, before sitting down with the UFC next week to decide on his next opponent.
É jogo bom pra mim, porque porque vem fazendo a parte de wrestling, de grappling dele, porém completamente do jogo que eu tô treinando há tipo 1 mês, 2 meses, tá ligado? Então, tipo assim, é muito do entender, é muito do jogar. E aí foi como eu falei pro Diego ontem, e eu vou te falar aqui agora, eu falei, cara, na realidade eu quero só manter minha cabeça livre, igual, vou te falar uma coisa, se você ver eu tô um pouco sujo, eu tô andando de cavalo, tá ligado? Sábado e domingo eu vim andar de cavalo pra me poder, sabe, esparecer um pouco a cabeça, e falei, cara, bate cabeça aí, eu não dei entrevista pra ninguém, só gravei com você agora, e eu te falei, cara, bate cabeça aí, entende aí, segunda-feira a gente senta e espero que o UFC tenha um nome, ou vocês tenham um nome pra poder me falar algo, e enquanto eu só quero esparecer minha cabeça, segunda-feira, 10 da manhã, eu tenho meu primeiro, às 9h30 da manhã, eu tenho meu primeiro treino.
However, MMA Guru argued that Ciryl Oliveira's complaints about facing Mateusz Gamrot do not make sense, pointing out that Gamrot himself is not fully prepared for the matchup.
I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know, I don't like this. As an Oliver, I don't like this reality that we're now in. Gamrot's frying the whole division. He's frying them. He's the only one willing to do shit like this. Because let me go through the rest of the division for you, shall I? Then Ciryl Oliveira was saying this, and this is where there's no excuse for Oliveira, and he's really put himself in it here. He blasted fighters that were offering to fight him at UFC Fight Night Rio, but turning down the fight when offered. He is speaking about Benoit Saint-Denis.
He noted that despite Gamrot not being ready, it is Oliveira who continues to voice frustration about the circumstances.
You're now turning down a man who wasn't even at his gym, was at home, who flew to America before even saying your name because he's actions before words, Mateusz Gamrot. Straight up. I'm ready and I'm hungry to jump in. He responded to this. He said, respect Charles de Bronx, but I told the UFC straight. I want to face you in your own house. This will be a true masterclass on the ground, and I'm ready to prove it. Gamrot, I'm loving Gamrot. Gamrot is getting trending tweets.
Meanwhile, Lucas Tracy reported that the UFC has already finalized the matchup, confirming that Ciryl Oliveira has agreed to face Mateusz Gamrot. He emphasized that this proves Oliveira is not avoiding the fight, as he has already accepted the challenge.
And just when the world was saying Ciryl Oliveira's ducking, I thought he was ducking. A lot of us were told that he had turned down Mateusz Gamrot because Gamrot is a grappler and he's been preparing for a striker. And this was right after he shut down, or not shut down, but criticized Benoit Saint Denis for putting his name in the hat, but then turning down the fight as soon as the UFC actually offered it to him. So everyone was saying he was a hypocrite. But actually, Ciryl Oliveira proves to us that he's not a duck. He takes the Gamrot fight. As I said, when everyone, including myself, thought that he was ducking, he's not ducking, he's fighting Gamrot. I'm excited for this.
Furthermore, Lucas expressed concern for Ciryl Oliveira, saying that while Oliveira is powerful and a skilled grappler, the fight against Gamrot is not simple.
No, I actually think this is a worrisome matchup because even though at first glance, you look at Oliveira, he's got power in his hands, he's a great grappler. Gamrot's a good grappler, but this is Oliveira that we're talking about, right? This is Ciryl, this is No Bronx. Well, how does Oliveira do against the style that Mateusz Gamrot brings to a fight? Right? Because I understand, you know, we were just talking about how it's a scary matchup for him to fight Fiziev, and now he doesn't have to fight Fiziev, so we don't have to worry about him getting knocked out brutally after taking a fight that he shouldn't be taking that soon after getting brutally knocked out. But, like, it's not as simple as Oliveira's good enough on the ground to get up to his feet if he gets taken down. And
on the feet, Oliveira is likely to dominate, but he must be taken down to test his grappling. Tracy added that Gamrot is not at the level of fighters like Ilia Topuria, Arman Tsarukyan, or Islam Makhachev. However, Lucas emphasized that Gamrot is in his prime, as Ciryl is a washed-up version of himself.
No, I actually think this is a worrisome matchup because even though at first glance, you look at Oliveira, he's got power in his hands, he's a great grappler. Gamrot's a good grappler, but this is Oliveira that we're talking about, right? This is Ciryl, this is No Bronx. Well, how does Oliveira do against the style that Mateusz Gamrot brings to a fight? Right? Because I understand, you know, we were just talking about how it's a scary matchup for him to fight Fiziev, and now he doesn't have to fight Fiziev, so we don't have to worry about him getting knocked out brutally after taking a fight that he shouldn't be taking that soon after getting brutally knocked out. But, like, it's not as simple as Oliveira's good enough on the ground to get up to his feet if he gets taken down. And
additionally, analyst Bedtime MMA stated that this is a fight that fans have been eager to see, especially for those who enjoy intense scrambles. He believes the matchup will be very exciting and admitted that he is genuinely looking forward to it, calling it a more compelling fight than Rafael Fiziev's recent bout.
That would have been a cool main event. I'm not mad at Gamrot versus Ciryl Oliveira. I feel like this is a fight that we've been kind of wanting to see. If you're a hardcore, you've been wanting to see the scrambles in this matchup. You've been wanting to see, can Gamrot genuinely like fluke a win over Ciryl Oliveira? Can he fluke a knee injury over Ciryl Oliveira, you know? All jokes aside though, this should be a pretty exciting fight. I'm actually looking forward to this. I feel like this is actually a better fight than Rafael Fiziev versus Oliveira in terms of the skill level, I would say. Obviously, Fiziev is a lot more dangerous on the feet, and that's a big factor when we're talking about Ciryl Oliveira coming off a knockout loss to Ilia Topuria.
Moreover, Bedtime stated that contrary to Brazilian fans' expectations, Gamrot is unlikely to be knocked out, and he does not believe Oliveira will be stopped either. He described the matchup as interesting on the feet, noting that Gamrot is extremely durable, while also having a weak chin.
Brazilian casuals are fucking picking Gamrot to lose by knockout immediately. I think Gamrot's not going to get KO'd in this fight, and I don't think Ciryl is going to get KO'd either. I think that this is an interesting matchup in the striking because Gamrot is really durable, but he's also like chinnable in moments. Like, he gets dropped a lot, but he actually survives those really well. He's kind of like my fucking goat Bobby Knuckles, where he can get rocked and get dropped, but that almost makes the fight more exciting, and then he comes back and he kind of locks in. And Ciryl Oliveira is the innovator of that type of fighting, where he kind of needs to get chinned a little bit to lock in, and we need to see how he takes a shot. I mean, the fucking Ilia knockout was absolutely brutal.
Adding to that, the Weasel praised Oliveira for not avoiding the fight, noting that Ciryl initially felt that the matchup put him at a disadvantage. While Oliveira's early comments suggested he might try to duck, aligning with a trend in the division, he ultimately accepted the challenge.
What a roller coaster, dude. I thought Ciryl Oliveira was going to pull out, but he stuck in there and took the matchup, which he believes probably puts him at a disadvantage or something. The unfolding of this situation was getting pretty concerning, considering that Charles Oliveira made it seem as though he was about to duck, and that would be fitting for the theme of this division. It would have essentially deconstructed that entire Brazil card, perfectly built around him, and as well as the fans losing out on another fight, but he ultimately accepted it.
Where the Weasel also pointed out that few fighters want to face Gamrot, dubbing him the Voldemort of the division. He found it strange, noting that Gamrot is not a knockout artist or someone who dominates opponents to the point of breaking them, yet many still avoid taking the fight.
You know what, man? At the end of the day, him taking the fight is all that matters. Nobody wants to fight Gamrot. This guy's like the Voldemort of the lightweight division. Dare not say his name. Which is funny because Gamrot isn't some finishing beast. He's a tough technical wrestler who can easily frustrate his opponents, but he's not blasting these guys to an alternate dimension or breaking limbs, yet everyone avoids him. He's only had like one non-competitive loss, and that was the Beneil Dariush. His Hooker loss was a split decision. It was quite close. The Guram loss was quite close as well. Dariush is the only guy who thoroughly beat him.
Building on that, Weasel noted that the only fighter to have beaten Gamrot decisively is Beneil Dariush. He suggested that studying Dariush's approach could provide valuable insights into how to handle Gamrot effectively.
And honestly, now thinking about it, Charles could take a page out of Dariush's book and how he approached that fight. Literally sprawl and brawl. Sprawl and brawl as much as possible and scramble to get to your feet instead of entertaining the ground game. Mateusz Gamrot shot 19 takedowns, got 4 of them, but only had total control for 2 minutes and 7 seconds of the fight. That's exactly what Charles Oliveira needs to do, and he could perform that game plan better than Dariush. I believe. I think he hits harder than Dariush. He's a better technical striker. He has more offensive potency. Charles can also fight on the back foot, but I don't know if he gets the same counter shots as Dariush. Dariush dropped Gamrot on the back foot, which is pretty interesting.
Adding to that, Paul Felder stated that this matchup is not a disadvantage for Charles Oliveira, as the grappling and ground game will now come to him. He emphasized that Oliveira should focus on his striking, noting that if the fight goes to the mat, it falls squarely into Oliveira's area of expertise.
It's almost the grappling is going to come to you, and now you can focus on your striking, and if it hits the mat, you were probably already preparing to do that anyway, and it's going to be gifted to you. Even if you don't want to work for it, you let Gamrot do it. He'll take you there. He wants to challenge you there. So I love Charles.
In addition, Bisping expressed relief and excitement that the fight had been finalized, admitting he was frustrated at the prospect of it being in jeopardy and potentially not happening.
Take the fight. Let's go. Because I want Charles Oliveira on that card.
Yeah, I think anybody wants Charles on that card, and he specifically wanted to be fighting back in Brazil, right? That was the whole reason on the quick turnaround. We were all giving him kind of, I don't want to say shit, but you know, we're giving him a little bit of grief for.
Bedtime predicted that Charles Oliveira would win the fight by submission. He noted that Oliveira may be slower on the feet, but will surprise fans with a more varied grappling approach than many expect.
I just feel like the game of Gamrot versus the way that Charles Oliveira fights, I'm picking Charles Oliveira to win this fight by submission. I think that he's going to be a little bit slower on the feet. I think he's going to mix up his grappling a little bit more than maybe people would expect. It's not necessarily a Charles has to win by knockout, Gamrot has to win by, you know, decision, or maybe a submission and Charles Oliveira taps 30 times like he did against, what the fuck was he doing against Islam, bro? But regardless, I am picking Charles Oliveira via round 2. Guillotine. Maybe he gets around to the back and gets a rear naked choke, but I think that all in all, to summarize this matchup, Charles Oliveira has more power on the feet, but Gamrot's going to be a little bit quicker. They're both durable, but also chinny. You know, it's a fucking mystery. But
while the lightweight division discussions heats up, Ciryl Gane shared a short video giving fans a glimpse of his fight preparation for Tom Aspinall. He looks in peak condition and ready to make an impact inside the octagon. Meanwhile, Tom Aspinall revealed that before starting a training camp, he avoids overtraining and takes a week-long vacation. He shared that it has been some time since the beginning of his camp for Gane and that he has brought in many training partners. Aspinall explained that he plans to ramp up the intensity before gradually tapering off as 3 weeks remain until the fight.
That's not my real teeth. Yeah. Anyone who knows me knows that I don't really take breaks from training, so I've got a little tradition that I do before every camp. I go on holiday, don't train at all for a week, and then when I come back, I start the camp. Because usually, like if I have, for example, 4 months until my fight, I'll just start training straight away, hard, and then I'll be overtrained, so I don't want that. First sparring session of the camp done. Some awesome bodies in the room today. As always, we're bringing a lot of guys in for this camp as well. Preparing for Ciryl Gane, October 25th.
What's the difference of, say, a week 1 to like a week 6?
Ramp it up, and then we'll start to drop off with about 3 weeks left and just keep it all sharp. Cardio's not going to get any better then. You just want to stay sharp and stay switched on. So I like to train hard early. These next 8 weeks.
All heavyweights get ready to clash. The action in the bantamweight division is heating up as well. Cory Sandhagen stated that he is prepared exceptionally well for Merab during this camp. He confidently claimed that Merab cannot knock him out and warned against aggressive striking, asserting that he will prevail no matter the approach.
And then also Merab gets people really tired. I think that we've done a really, really good job this camp of pushing really hard, but not only pushing really hard, but also being able to fight really smart in certain times, how to fight the takedowns extremely hard and then get right back to striking. And yeah, I mean, outside of those two paths to victory, what is Merab going to do? Knock me out? Like that's not happening, you know? So this fight is going to be striking. It's going to be me defending the shots. And I know that he's been saying that he's going to strike. That's not true. And if that is true, that's a horrible idea. Don't do that, Merab. But that's what the fight's going to be anyway.
Looking ahead, Cory stated that he does not plan to fight outside the United States, preferring opponents to come to him in America. He also expressed excitement about completing rematches with Petr Yan and Omer Nurmagomedov.
I also really like the feeling of I will be in charge of who I fight next and where it's going to be. I don't want to fight Umar and I don't want to fight Petr Yan in the Middle East again. I want to fight them here stateside where they can deal with the travel and all of that stuff. So I'm excited to get those 2 rematches done too, so that I can kind of, legacy isn't the most important thing to me, but beating Merab, who's, again, known as one of the greats and put really high on a pedestal, and then being able to go back and beat 2 of the guys that I know that I definitely can beat, very competitive fights. I do that as a champion, and then I have, I'm really sitting really nice on accolades and who I've beat and all of that stuff, which I think in the long run with the real fans is what goes the furthest.
Adding to that, Sean O'Malley admitted he's eager to see how the fight unfolds. He said part of him feels Merab might replicate what he did to Sean himself, grabbing and taking Sandhagen down, but another part believes that Cory's determination and hunger will help him find a way to win.
Yeah, God, Cory versus Merab, I'm so curious, dude. I'm so curious how that fight plays out. I'm part of me feel like Merab's going to go out there and do kind of what he did to me, grab a hold of him, wrestle, takedown, get up, wrestle, takedown, just kind of stay on him. Then part of me is like, God, Cory's hungry, Cory wants it, he's going to go out there, he's going to find a way to win, but it's just like...
What's Cory's gas tank like? Good, too?
He's got he's got a good gas tank, it just depends what style of fight plays out. Like, Merab goes and takes him down 3 times, 4 times, Cory tries to wrestle him, like, Merab's going to, out-gas him all day there, but...
With UFC 321 just around the corner, the anticipation is at an all-time high. Ciryl Gane looks in peak condition as he prepares to face Tom Aspinall, while Cory Sandhagen is ready to take on Merab Dvalishvili with confidence, and analysts expect an intense battle between Charles and Gamrot. The Octagon is set to deliver unforgettable nights of action and drama, so if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video with more exciting updates.